first time ever, I went to Superbooth. So this year I finally went to Superbooth. It's one of the places I've been wanting to go for years, and this year I finally made it a reality. Now you might be saying again, why is a bass player going to Superbooth? Well, like I said in the Synthfest video last year, synthesizers are a massive part of what I do, in particular the modular synth setup that accompanies my bass, and then also the other played synths that get used on stage as well. So this is going to be a bit of a recap video of what I saw at the event. There's definitely some stuff I missed. It's such a busy event. I only went for one day, and to be honest, I think I picked the best day I could have. Apparently the Thursday was insanely busy, and the Saturday was the same. Friday was still really busy, but there was still plenty of space to get around most things. Not going to get around everything, and there's a few things I'll have to kind of caveat in this video as I go, but I think I picked the right day. And it all starts in W Hall, which is where Tangible Waves was. It was great to catch up with Robert from Tangible Waves, as well as all the third-party builders, like I say, BF Synth, Kia, and Wonky Stuff. Some really cool stuff being done there, really pushing it forward. Robert said on a few occasions at the event that there's a real focus on the quality with what they're doing, to the point where it really is a no-brainer. If you want affordable modular, this is the way to go. There's some really cool stuff in the works there. The new MIDI format, which is building on what John from Wonky Stuff did a few years back. I already use his MIDI setup, and that's amazing. They've built on that massively with a polyphonic oscillator, some other MIDI implementation which is very similar to some of the functionality you get in Ableton. That's kind of mind-blowing for a modular system like this. Then of course there's the new modules from all of the third-party builders. BF Synth, bringing out all of the modules from their previous ventures. Amazing to see all that stuff combined. And the real quality in the faceplates and the way they're doing it it's second to none the way they're doing this now. Their modules like the 555 oscillator, the 2 sloth, the 5-step arpeggiator, really amazing to see in the flesh and look like they're really impressive modules. I'll definitely be checking them out soon. And then of course Kia, again fantastic stuff. The tracker he's building looks really impressive. He's already got the Euclid grid and the 2 auto modules, which are really cool. I was really impressed with the 2 auto as a loopable CV controller. That I definitely have some uses for moving forward. But the tracker, that's something else. An 8-track CV tracker that you can add a keyboard to. In fact, I'm not going to do this justice. Go and watch the 5th Volts video on this setup. In fact, on all these modules, because he does a really good coverage of what was at the booth. But yeah, an expandable tracker, that's really cool to see. It was cool to see the hardware prototype at the event. And then of course Wonky Stuff, who I've spoken on many occasions over the last couple of years. He didn't disappoint either. He had the Nutta tracker, which is a 1-track tracker. Really cool concept, very excited to see where that goes. And he also had the Castle ARP, which is another expansion on his Castle modules, taking the Bastel Castle format and bringing it into the AE modular format. Can't think of a better word there. He's done a great job of that, and he's brought this one in the same way, an ARP module. In fact, at the time of filming this, I've ordered one because it's such a cool module. He's also got a new Matrix mixer in the works, which I'm really intrigued to see where he takes that. And then of course his MIDI modules, the drum modules, there's so much cool stuff, and he had a lot of it there, and it was just really inspiring to see how he's using all of that hooked up. I also got some great tips for using some of this stuff in my live setup, which I really appreciated that. And everybody at the booth, all the builders, Karsten from the 5th Volt as well, he was doing a great job covering the event. and also speaking with everyone. And when it comes to the AE Modular, he's about as knowledgeable as you can get. So a wealth of information. It was great to speak with him, all the builders. It was just brilliant. And getting some hands-on demonstrations of how some of these systems work. There's a lot of ideas moving forward that I've taken from Superbooth. Now there was a lot of talk about trackers there. And actually that was kind of the word of the weekend for me. The build up to it, I actually bought the Polyend tracker. It was a really good deal online for it, picked one up. And then actually the day mine arrived, Polyend announced the Tracker Plus, which they did have at the event. So it was great to see what the differences were. Honestly, the Tracker Plus can do so much. It builds on what the tracker already had, adds in synth engines, separates out the audio and MIDI into more tracks, which is really cool to see. Honestly, it's just a great piece of kit. And so is the Tracker Mini, which I finally got to look at as well at the event. Really cool. I did hear rumours that there might be a software update coming to the Tracker Mini as well. Might bring in some of the Tracker Plus functionality, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And there's also a compressor pedal, which I didn't even see. I've seen loads of photographs of it since, but I honestly completely missed it. That's what I mean when I say this event has so much going on. You're definitely going to miss some things. Quick recap of the rest of W Hall. Just checking my notes here on my phone. AFK audio. Now that's away from keyboard. They made this really cool drum trigger pad. That wasn't a great explanation at all. It's a trigger pad for MIDI, so it's like a rubber bar with lights on it. You can split it up into sections within the mapping, so you can have one big trigger, 4 smaller triggers, 8 smaller triggers, however you want it to be set up. It's a MIDI device, so it can be used to control computers, hardware synths, and to be honest with you, it can do so much that I'm not doing this justice. It was really impressive to see as a drum trigger pad. Different approach to it. I think it'll look really cool on stage as well. And it wasn't too expensive really for the build quality involved. So recommend checking that out. That was a prototype that should be out soon. There was the Therasynth, which was a really nice, traditional looking theremin, but it had some modern functionality to it as well. That was really cool to see. Playfader, who sadly I didn't get to see because every time I went past his booth, it was really busy. Amazing to see that. I did feature the Playfader from Play All Day in the Synthfest video last year, and it's just great to see the response that's getting. A few other really cool things we saw were the Elta Music. It was a laser oscilloscope controller. That was really cool to see. There was also 1010 Music, had their devices there, really impressive. Sonicware, Decksaver, and Percussa, who had some really impressive devices as well. Moving on to the tents, because this is not strictly an indoor event. There's actually park grounds around it, and there's many tents set up on the grounds that have booths within them as well. Some of the highlights from the tents for me, bumping into Henning Polly from the HP42 channel, one of the most honest reviewers probably on the internet, and he was a really nice guy, and it was great to bump into him as well. He kindly stopped for a photo, which I'll put up just now. Then of course there was the PWM booth. Now they shared their booth with ESI and Kurzweil. Really cool stuff in that booth. From the computer side of stuff with ESI, you know what you're getting with Kurzweil, it's all high-end stuff. They even had a vintage synth there, which was really impressive to see. But of course, the star of that booth for me has to be PWM. The Malevolent, it's no secret, is a synth that I really like. I really enjoyed playing it at Synthfest last year and the year before, and it really just doesn't disappoint. One of my favourite synths in that hardware synth world, hands down. And the Mantis is exactly the same. It's another really great synth. Like the Malevolent, really affordable for what it can do, but just sounds huge. So yeah, PWM, always a standout for me. Another one was Chase Bliss pedals. Now it's no secret that I really like pedals. And it was great to see a pedal company there. Not just any pedal company, but probably one of the most sought after pedal companies on the go just now. But the biggest aspect of their booth was the built guitar with the mood built into it. And yeah, that was great to play. There wasn't many people picking it up when I was there. It is mainly a synthesizer event, but it was great to be able to have a wee shot. And the representative for Chase Bliss, he did some tweaking on the pedals. bit of an explanation as well while I was playing. It was great to get that kind of hands-on demonstration. I'm really interested in what they make now, so I'll definitely be checking out some of that at some point. Now, there was so much more I could say about the various tanks, we just don't have the time for that. But I wanted to give a special shout out to Modular and the Glasgow Synth Guild. Two modular synth brands representing Scotland. It was great to see. And their modules look unbelievably impressive. The aesthetic alone is really cool, but they sound fantastic, so it's great to see them there. Now the rest of the indoors part, just to cover some of that, there was of course Moog, a lot of studio stuff going on as well, including Neve. Had a Neve console there which was really impressive to see. Of course Ableton, Earthquaker were there with some of their modules, Oberheim, so many more, Modal, so many great synth companies, but just not enough time to name them all. Some of the stuff that really stood out to me was the Osmose synthesizer with that key bed where you can do vibrato on the keys. It was so expressive. And again, for the money, I really can't believe it's that cheap for what it is. Now, it's not cheap, but it's very affordable considering what it can do, and it sounds and plays fantastic. Korg, of course, always impressive to see what Korg do. Had some really impressive stuff there. And then Novation with the anniversary display of the base station, that was really cool to see. It's no secret that I really like Novation products. I use a Novation Impulse quite often in the studio and on stage. And Novation synths are really cool. They're really nice sounding synths, and it was great to see the display representing, well, a product being out that long, it's no mean feat these days. And then finally for the rooms for me is another pedal company, Warm Audio. Now they had a bunch of their pedals there. They also had some of their rack equipment. The one that really stood out to me was the Pultec clone. As a bass player, Pultecs are really one of these iconic sounds. It's one of the best bass tones you can get in the studio in my opinion. Now they're not cheap, and the Warm Audio one makes it affordable, and it's still not a cheap product, but it's substantially more affordable than the real thing. So that was impressive to see. So yeah, what do I think of Superbooth? Well, let's put it this way, I'm going back again next year, there's no doubt about it. I'll be trying my best to go back. It was unbelievable to see. There was so much great equipment on display, a lot of stuff being shown off, there was even some prototypes of things. It's very relaxed as well, there's kind of free reign to go between the indoor parts, there's an upstairs and downstairs section. In the indoor part, there's rooms off to the side, there's W Hall, but then you've also got the tented areas outside in the fields, in the park I mean. Now with that, there was so much to see, it was really relaxed, you could go for a walk, the weather definitely helped, it's unbelievably nice when you're over at that time of year, at least it was this year. And there's also outdoor staging as well, so they have some acts playing, which is great to see. If anybody can set it up so that I can play there next year, I would love to do that, because it honestly looks like a great event to play it. And yeah, it's just really a great event. I highly recommend, if you're into synthesizers, if you're into this sort of thing, even the studio aspect, go to Superbooth if you can. Tie it in with a trip like I did. I went across for a weekend, we turned it into a bit of a family trip, and it ended up being a great event. So yeah, highly recommend it, even if you're a bass player watching this who's into some of the electronic stuff. Worth a try. I really enjoyed it. I just want to say thanks again to everybody that demonstrated at their booths, took the time to speak to me. It was great, and especially everybody at the Tangible Waves booth, from BF Synth, John from Wonky Stuff, Tom from Kia, Robert from Tangible Waves, of course, and also Karsten from the Fifth Volt. It was great to speak to you all, and it really was the highlight of the event for me, seeing that booth. There's plenty of inspiration for new music, and also for how I'm going to run the live show for the gigs later this year. That's about it for today though. Thanks again for watching this. If you've got any questions about the event or things I didn't cover, please leave them in the comments below. And if you did enjoy it, please consider liking or subscribing to the channel. It does help out a lot, and I do really appreciate it. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, keep working on those bass faces.